The night carried the smell of rain on cold brick. A wet road outside Cleveland. Taillights bleeding into black water. A man in the driver's seat. Alone, one hand on the wheel and the other inside his coat, pressed against the thing he had spent a year of his life collecting. Headlights filled his mirror, 2 of them, then 4. He understood, the way men of his blood always understood. He whispered a name. He whispered a city. He whispered, in the language of his mother, "Please, not before she is old enough." The first car hit him from behind. 500 miles away, on a different night that had not happened yet, a girl was being born into a lie. She would learn her father's name in pieces, then in whispers, then in a single envelope, 16 years too late. And one evening, in a 5-star restaurant in Chicago, she would speak one word in Italian, and the dead would lift their heads. 16 years ago, on a wet road outside Cleveland, a man named Antonio Marchetti died with a secret in his coat pocket. He never got to deliver it. The men who put him in the ground thought that was the end of the story. It was not. It was the beginning. Tonight, in a 5-star restaurant on the north side of Chicago, his daughter is folding napkins. She is 26 years old. She has a college degree she cannot use. She has a mother who is dying in Cleveland. She has an eviction notice in her kitchen drawer. She does not know her father was murdered. She does not know who killed him. She does not know that the man who killed him is about to walk through the front door of the restaurant where she works. She does not know that tonight, in approximately 47 minutes, a salt shaker is going to fall. And the world is going to remember her name. Her name is Isabella Marchetti, and this is the night the dead come home. The eviction notice was taped to her door at 6:17 in the morning. Isabella read it 3 times. Standing in the hallway, still wearing the t-shirt she had slept in, bare feet on cold concrete, 60 days. 60 days to find another place. In a city where rent had doubled in 2 years. With a credit score that looked like a punchline. She peeled the notice off slowly. The tape took a small strip of paint with it. Of course it did, because that was how things worked in apartment 4B. You touched anything, and the building took something back. Her phone buzzed, Cleveland area code. Her stomach dropped before she answered, "Mom." A pause. The kind of pause that already told her everything. "It's the billing office, honey." Her mother's voice was thin, apologetic, the voice of a woman who had spent 3 years apologizing for being sick. "They said the new chemo isn't covered. We need to come up with $18,000 by Friday." Isabella sat down on the floor, right there, in the hallway. Eviction notice in one hand, phone in the other. "Mom, I told them I'd figure it out. Don't worry. I'll figure it out." "Mom, stop. I'm fine, Bella. I'm fine." She wasn't fine. She had not been fine in 3 years. "I'll call you tonight, Mom. Are you eating, sweetheart?" Yes. She was not eating. She hung up, sat in the hallway, stared at her bare feet. They were red from the cold floor. She had a college degree in 3 languages: Italian, French, Spanish. She had graduated with honors. She had paid for it with loans that now followed her around like a second shadow. And she could not afford $18,000 by Friday. She could not afford $1,800. She could not afford the cup of coffee she was about to make. Isabella stood up, walked into the apartment, made the coffee anyway. Because if she stopped moving, she would scream, and the neighbors had complained twice already this month about noise. The mail had come the night before. She had been too tired to open it. She opened it now. 3 bills. 2 final notices, and 1 envelope from Whitfield Translation Services. The 18th company she had applied to since June. She did not even need to open it. She knew the words. "We regret to inform you, we are not able to offer. We wish you the best in your future." She opened it anyway. Same words. Different letterhead. The 18th no in 5 months. Her coffee was cold by the time she remembered she had made it. She poured it down the sink, and that should have been the worst part of the morning. Except, in the bottom drawer of her dresser, while she was looking for a clean pair of work socks, her fingers brushed something wooden. Something she had not touched in over a decade, a box small. Olive wood. The kind of box old men in Naples used to make for tourists at the harbor. Her mother had given it to her when she was 16, told her to keep it. Never told her what was inside. Isabella had assumed photographs. Maybe a rosary. Maybe nothing. She pulled the box out now, sat on her bed, brushed off the dust. The hinge was tight. She had to work it with her thumbnail. Inside, there were photographs. There was a rosary. There was a baby tooth wrapped in tissue paper. And under all of that, there was a letter, folded once. The paper was thin. The kind of paper that came from Italy. Featherlight. Almost translucent, Isabella unfolded it carefully. Because the creases had become weak. The letter was in Italian, her grandmother's tongue, her father's tongue. It was addressed to Antonio Marchetti. It was dated April of 2010. Her father had died in May of 2010. A car accident on a wet road outside Cleveland. She had been 10 years old. The letter was 1 month before he died. Her hands began to shake. She read it slowly, translating as she went. Not because she needed to, because her body needed her to slow down. Antonio. The thing you fear is true. I have seen it with my own eyes. Do not move yet. Wait until I come. We will speak to the old man together. He will believe us. He has to believe us. Trust no one until then. Not even the ones who eat at your table. It was signed with 2 letters. VC. Isabella read the letter again. Then she read it again. VC. She did not know anyone with those initials. Her father had been a quiet man. A man who fixed cars. A man who smelled like motor oil and Sunday gravy. A man who had died in a car accident. Or so she had been told. The thing you fear is true. She put the letter back in the box. She put the box on her nightstand. She stared at it for a long time, until her phone alarm went off, reminding her that her shift at the Bellevista started in 3 hours, and she needed to iron her uniform, and braid her hair, and put on the face that customers liked, the one that made them tip $1 extra, the face of a girl who had nothing to hide, except now maybe. She did. The Bellevista did not smell like food. That was the first thing tourists got wrong. They walked in. They expected garlic. They expected basil. They got silence and bleach. The garlic happened in the back, behind 2 sets of doors, behind a wall of stainless steel. The dining room smelled like wax, like fresh linen, like very, very old money. Isabella had worked there for 6 months. She had learned 3 things. 1. Invisible was a uniform. She wore it better than the apron. 2. The customers did not see her. The managers did not see her. The other waiters saw her. Only when they needed her to take a table they did not want. 3. There was a corner table that was always empty. Always, even on Saturday nights when the rest of the dining room had a 2-hour wait. Even on Valentine's Day, when couples were eating shoulder to shoulder. The corner table sat empty. 2 chairs, white cloth, a single candle. No silverware. She had asked Tommaso about it once. Tommaso was the floor manager. 55, thin, gray at the temples, Italian by birth. Always smelled faintly of cigarettes. He claimed he didn't smoke. He had looked at her. Said nothing for a long beat. Then said, "Some tables are not for everyone, sweetheart." He had walked away. Isabella had stopped asking. But tonight, when she came in at 4, now, one's different about Tommaso. She did not notice it at first. She was thinking about the letter, about the initials, about a man named VC, who had written to her father 1 month before her father died on a wet road. But Tommaso was watching her. He was watching her in a way he had never watched her before. Twice that afternoon, she caught him looking at her across the dining room. The second time, she met his eyes by accident. He did not look away. His face was strange. It was the face of a man who had seen a ghost. He turned away first. He wiped his hands on his trousers. He went into the back. Isabella stood at the service station with a stack of napkins in her hand. She did not know why her chest had gone cold. She just knew that it had. She put on the small gold chain her grandmother had given her, the little silver horn at the end of it, the cornetto. Italians called it a good luck charm. Old Italians called it something else. Old Italians knew what it was for. It was for keeping the eye away. Her grandmother had worn one until the day she died. Isabella tucked it under her collar before she walked onto the floor. The first 3 hours were normal. A businessman complained about the temperature of his wine. A woman in pearls sent back her risotto twice. A couple proposed at table 14. The man was crying. The woman was not. Isabella took their drink order. She smiled. She said the right things. She was thinking about the letter. The thing you fear is true VC. She did not know anyone with those initials. She was thinking about that, while the woman at table 14 accepted the ring. At 9:47, the door opened, and the room changed. Isabella did not see it happen. Her back was to the entrance. She was folding napkins at the service station. The way you fold a napkin when you want it to stand up like a small, white tower. She did not see the door open, but she heard the room. The conversation did not stop. It got smaller. The way a fire gets smaller when you put a lid on it. The clink of glass got quieter. The laughter at table 6 stopped mid-sentence. A man at the bar set down his drink without finishing the sip. Isabella looked up. Tommaso was standing at the host stand. He was not breathing right. He was wiping his hands on the side of his suit pants. She had never seen him do that. Tommaso did not sweat. Tommaso did not fidget. Tommaso ran the dining room like a Swiss train. He was sweating. She turned slowly. 3 men were standing in the doorway. 2 of them, she did not look at long. They were big. They wore dark suits. They had earpieces. One of them was scanning the room the way a soldier scans a room. The other was already standing in a position that suggested he had thought about where he would be standing before he walked in. The third man stood in the middle. He was not the tallest. He was not the broadest. But the doorway seemed to belong to him. He wore a charcoal suit. No tie. White shirt open at the collar. His hair was salt and pepper, short on the sides. A small scar ran along the line of his jaw. Thin. Surgical. The kind of scar that had been put there on purpose. His eyes were the kind of dark that did not let you see what was inside them. He did not look at anyone. He waited. Tommaso moved fast. Tommaso almost ran Signor Conti. Tommaso bowed slightly. He never bowed. Welcome back. Your usual table is ready. The man nodded once. Very small. And Tommaso turned and walked toward the corner table, the one that was always empty. Isabella stood very still at the service station. The napkin in her hand had become useless. Her fingers had stopped working. Some tables are not for everyone, sweetheart. The man followed Tommaso. Slow, unhurried, the 2 men in dark suits split. One went to a position by the kitchen door. The other stayed near the entrance. Neither of them sat. Neither of them looked at a menu. The man, Signor Conti, sat with his back to the wall, facing the door. Of course he did. Isabella did not know how she knew that was important. She just knew. Tommaso came back through the dining room. He passed her. He did not look at her. He grabbed her elbow on the way by. He never touched her. He never touched anyone. You take that table. His voice was a whisper. What? You. Table 4. The corner. Take it. That's Caroline's section. Not tonight. Why? He did not answer. He kept walking. He did not look back. Isabella looked at the corner. Signor Conti was looking at his phone. Calm. Composed. He had not opened the menu. He had not asked for water. He was simply waiting. The way a man waits when he knows the world will arrange itself around him eventually. She put down the napkin. She picked up her notepad. She wiped her palms on her apron. She walked. The closer she got, the smaller her steps became. She did not mean for them to. They just did. By the time she reached the table, she was practically gliding. As if she were trying not to wake him up. Good evening, sir. He did not look up. Welcome to the Bellevista. He did not look up. May I bring you something to drink? He finished what he was reading on his phone, took his time, set the phone face down on the cloth, and then finally, he looked at her. Isabella forgot what she had just said. His eyes did not hold hers. They went through her, like she was a window, like he was looking for something on the other side. Macallan. His voice was soft, lower than she had expected. There was an accent under it, not strong, old. like the accent had been planed down by years of America. 30-year, neat, of course. She turned to leave. He spoke again, not loud, just enough to land and bring it from the cabinet. Not the well. She nodded. She walked. She did not breathe again until she reached the bar. Salvatore was at the bar. Salvatore had been at the Bellevista longer than the building had been the Bellevista. 65. White hair. Hands like a sculptor. The kind of bartender who remembered what you drank in 1998. She put the order down. Macallan 30. Neat. From the cabinet, Salvatore did not move. He looked over her shoulder. His face did not change, but something in him did. He's here. Yes. Salvatore reached under the bar, pulled out a key. A small brass key. He unlocked the cabinet on the back wall. The one that did not have prices on its bottles. The cabinet that was for people whose names were spoken quietly. He poured the scotch slowly. He set the glass on a small white napkin. He looked at her, held her eyes. Isabella? Yes, take it over. Set it down. Say nothing else. Do not look him in the eye more than once. Why? Because he is not the kind of man. You look in the eye twice. He pushed the glass toward her. She took it. She walked back across the dining room. She felt every eye on her. Not because they were looking at her. Because they were looking at the corner. And she was walking toward the corner. So she was for a moment part of the corner. And the corner mattered tonight. She set the glass down. A nervous man had appeared at the table while she was gone. She had not seen him come in. He must have come through the kitchen. He was not in a suit. He was in a jacket that did not fit him. His shirt was wrinkled. His hair was damp at the temples. He was sitting across from Signor Conti, speaking in Italian, fast, hands moving. The way men speak when they have already been afraid for several hours and are trying very hard not to seem afraid anymore. Isabella heard a word. Spedizione. Shipment. She heard another, Dogana Customs. She heard a third, Ritardo di Alai. She froze for half a heartbeat, because she understood every word. And she should not have been understanding every word. She should have been a girl named Isabella from Cleveland who carried whiskey. She should have been background, wallpaper, white. Noise. Signor Conti was speaking now. Quiet, calm. The kind of quiet that was much more frightening than any shouting. Isabella set the glass down too quickly. The napkin shifted. Her hip bumped the next table. The salt shaker wobbled. The salt shaker fell. White salt spilled across this next table's cloth in a long, sloppy crescent. Time stopped. 3 pairs of eyes turned to her. She heard her grandmother's voice. From years ago. From a kitchen in Cleveland. From a Sunday afternoon when Isabella had spilled the salt and her grandmother had crossed herself and laughed. The words came out of Isabella's mouth before she could stop them. Che sfortuna. What bad luck, in Italian. In an accent that was unmistakably from the South. From near Naples. From the lap of an old woman who had taught a child the language by accident. The nervous man across from Signor Conti stopped breathing. One of the men in dark suits, the one near the kitchen, took a small step forward. Signor Conti. Signor Conti turned his head. Slowly. The way a wolf turns when something small moves in the brush. His eyes found her. He did not blink. Parli Italiano. He did not phrase it as a question. Isabella's throat was dry. Si, signore. Mia nonna era di Napoli. Yes, sir. My grandmother was from Naples. His face did something then. Not a smile. Something smaller. Something more dangerous. The corner of his mouth moved by perhaps a millimeter, and his eyes did not go through her anymore. They stopped on her. Your name, Isabella, sir. Your family name. A small pause. She did not know why, Marchetti. The room continued. The music continued. The man at the bar finished his drink. The couple at table 14 kissed, but at the corner table. Time stopped a second time that night. Signor Conti did not move. Not visibly. But something happened behind his eyes. A door opened somewhere far inside him. A door that had been locked for a very long time. And whatever was behind that door looked out at her for a half second. Just a half second. Then the door closed. His mouth moved. The same Mixo smile. Napoli. The city of sirens. He picked up his glass. lifted it slightly. Toward her. Not quite a toast. More like a man acknowledging something he had not expected to see. That will be all for now, Isabella Marchetti. She nodded. She did not trust her voice. She turned. She walked. She did not look back. The kitchen door was the safest place she had ever entered. She pushed through it. The hot air hit her face. The clatter of pans. The bark of a line cook calling for hands. Luis, who ran the grill, looked up. You okay? Fine. You look gray. I'm fine. She walked past him, past the dishwasher, out the back door, into the alley, where the dumpster smelled like every restaurant in America. She put her hand against the brick wall. She breathed. Your family name. A small pause. Marchetti. And his face had done that thing. The thing you fear is true. VC. She closed her eyes. She made herself count to 10. She went back inside. She finished her shift. The nervous man left after 30 minutes. He left through the kitchen the way he had come. Two big men followed him out. He did not look at her. He did not look at anyone. Signor Conti stayed. He ate. He ate slowly. He ate something Salvatore had to make personally, in a copper pot that only Salvatore used. He drank 2 more glasses of scotch. He did not speak to her again. But every time she crossed his line of sight, she felt his eyes lift. The way you feel sun on the back of your neck when you have your eyes closed. Not staring, not leering, just aware. She brought the check at 10:40. He did not look at it. He slid a black card into the leather folio. The kind of black card she had never actually seen in person. He handed it back to her. His fingers brushed hers. It was not an accident. The fingers held there for 1/2 second longer than the geometry of the gesture required. Grazie Isabella Marchetti. His voice was soft. She walked the card to the register. She processed it with hands that did not feel like her own. When the receipt printed, she looked at the top line. He had tipped $600. On a bill of $410, she walked back to the table. She handed him his copy. He was already standing. One of the men was holding his coat. The coat had a silk lining. The coat looked older than her father would have been if her father had lived. He slipped his arms into it. He turned to her. You finish at 11. It was not a question. She nodded. You should not walk to the bus stop at this hour. She felt the heat rise into her face. I take the bus, sir. I'm fine. He did not argue. He simply did not look like a man who was being argued with. Buonanotte, Isabella. Buonanotte. He walked out. The dining room rearranged itself around his absence. A breath came back into the air. The other waiters resumed talking. A busboy laughed at something. A woman at table 9 signaled for another bottle of wine. The world remembered itself. Isabella stood next to the empty corner table. The white cloth was still slightly creased where his elbows had been. The candle had gone out. But sauce, just at the edge of her vision. Tommaso. He was at the host stand. He was watching her. His face had gone the color of old paper. When their eyes met, he turned, quickly. Too quickly. He walked into the back office and shut the door. Isabella stood very still. She did not know yet what that meant. She would learn. She finished her closing duties on autopilot. She wiped down tables. She rolled napkins. She restocked the sugar. Her hands were doing the job. Her head was somewhere else. When she clocked out, it was 11:27. The night had teeth. October in Chicago had a way of going from cold to mean in about 10 minutes. The wind, off the lake, came down the side streets. The way water comes down a gutter. Isabella pulled her thin jacket tighter. Her gloves had holes in the thumbs. The bus stop was 3 blocks east. The last bus came at 11:45. If she missed it, she walked. 40 minutes through neighborhoods that were friendly during the day, unfriendly after dark. She had walked through them before. She had a key clenched in her fist when she did. She walked 4 steps. Headlights that did not pass. A black Escalade pulled silently to the curb beside her. The tinted window in the back went down. Just enough, his face looked out at her. Isabella. She did not move. Allow me to give you a ride home. A part of her brain. A loud part of her brain. The part of her brain that had been raised by an Italian grandmother who told her never to take rides from strange men. That part of her brain was already shouting at her to turn around and start walking. A different part of her brain. A part she did not recognize. A part that was very, very tired of being cold. That part of her brain reached for the door she got in. The door closed behind her with the soft thump of a vault. The inside of the Escalade smelled like leather, like cologne, like something faintly metallic. He was sitting across from her in the captain's chair. The two front seats were a driver and one of the men in dark suits. There was a partition between the front and the back. She and Signor Conti were alone. For practical purposes, your address, she gave it. The driver pulled away from the curb. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The city slid past the tinted window in long ribbons of light. He was the one who broke the silence. How long have you worked at the Bellevista? 6 months. Before that, Benelli's downtown. Before Chicago. Cleveland. I grew up in Cleveland. My mom moved us there when I was 10. He nodded once. Very small. A pause. He looked out the window. He spoke quietly. Your father's name was Antonio. It was not a question. Isabella's lungs forgot how to be lungs. How? She could not finish the sentence. He did not look at her. He kept looking out the window. While the lights of Michigan Avenue passed across his face in slow yellow bars. I have not heard that name in 16 years. You knew my father. He did not answer right away. I knew of him. How? He turned his head finally. Looked at her. That is a conversation for a conversation another evening, Isabella. That's not enough. You can't just. I know. He reached into his jacket pocket. She tensed. She did not mean to. Her body did it for her. He withdrew a small white card. Not a business card. Just a card. Heavy paper. Cream. Embossed. There was no name on it. There was no company on it. There was only a single phone number. Black. Embossed. He held it out to her. If you ever need anything. She did not take it. Why would you help me? A small motion of his mouth. Perhaps I like the way you say buona notte. The Escalade stopped. She looked out the window. They were in front of her building. The one with the broken security door. The one with the peeling paint. The one with the eviction notice that was, even now, in a crumpled ball, on her kitchen counter. She felt embarrassment heat her neck. He did not react to her building. He did not react to her neighborhood. He held out the card. Indulge me. She took it. She did not know why she took it. She tucked it into her coat pocket. Thank you, Signor Conti. Lorenzo. Thank you, Lorenzo. He inclined his head. The man in the front passenger seat was already out. He opened her door. He stood between her and the street. He scanned the sidewalk while she stepped down. He walked her to the security door. He did not speak. He stayed there until she was inside. Then, he turned and went back to the car. The Escalade pulled away. She watched the tail lights go. She did not breathe until they turned the corner. The 4 flights up to her apartment took longer than they had ever taken before. Her legs felt like they had run a marathon. Her hands were trembling. Not from cold. From something else. She let herself in. She locked the door. She slid down with her back against the door until she was sitting on the floor. She pulled the card out of her pocket. No name, no company, just a number. She placed the card on the floor next to her. She closed her eyes. She slept 3 hours. Not in bed, on the floor, in her coat. At 7 in the morning, her phone alarm went off. She did not move. At 7:04, someone knocked on her door. 3 sharp knocks. Knuckles. Not a fist. Not a frantic neighbor. A man. Isabella was awake instantly. She did not move. The knock came again. Same rhythm, Miss Marchetti, a voice she did not know. I have a delivery. She rose carefully, walked to the peephole, looked. A man stood in the hallway, dark coat, hands clasped in front of him. She cracked the chain. Yes. Signor Conti sends this. He held up a black gift bag. Heavy paper, a small black ribbon. And this, a cream envelope. Her name was on it, in script. She undid the chain. She took both items. The man inclined his head. He turned and walked away. He did not wait for a tip. He did not look back. She closed the door. She locked it. She slid the chain back across. She brought the bag and the envelope to the kitchen counter, set them next to the crumpled eviction notice, stared at the three of them, like they belonged to three different versions of her life. She opened the envelope first. The note was short. Isabella, I would be honored if you would join me for dinner this evening at 8. The Bellevista will not need you tonight. Consider it arranged. The gift is small. Indulge me. L. She read it 3 times. The Bellevista will not need you and tonight. Consider it arranged. The Bellevista was not a place that adjusted its schedule around its staff. The Bellevista was not a place that adjusted its schedule around anyone. She picked up her phone. She called the restaurant. Tommaso answered on the second ring. Bellevista, this is Tommaso. It's Isabella. A long pause. You're not on the schedule tonight, sweetheart. His voice was different. Too smooth. Too careful, Tommaso. You're not on the schedule. Caroline is taking your tables. Take the night off. Don't make trouble for yourself. What? Goodbye, Isabella. He hung up. She stood with the phone against her ear, long after the line went dead. She set the phone down. She opened the gift bag. Inside was a small box. White. The kind of box that came from a store on Michigan Avenue. She opened the box. A small gold cornetto rested on black velvet, on a fine chain. The horn was hand-shaped. The work was old. The kind of work that did not happen in a factory. Her grandmother had worn one just like it. Her grandmother had worn one just like it until the day she died. And Isabella's mother had buried it with her. Because that was what her grandmother had asked for. Because the horn was for protection. And the dead needed protection too. How could he know? She had not worn the new one to work. She had worn small silver one her grandmother had given her. A child's version. He could not have seen the gold one. He could not have known. The phone rang, the landline, the cordless on the wall. The one that came with the apartment because the cell signal was bad in the kitchen. She picked it up. Hello. Good morning, Isabella. Lorenzo, how did I get your number? Yes, I make a habit of knowing how to reach the people I want to reach. She closed her eyes. Lorenzo, yes. The cornetto, yes. My grandmother wore one just like that. A small silence. I am glad to hear it. How did you know? I did not know. I guessed you guessed. Sometimes intuition is correct. Was I correct? Yes, good. A silence again. She found her voice. What is this? What are you doing? I am asking you to dinner. You are not asking. You are arranging. Yes, that's not the same thing. It is not. You are right. He let her sit with that for a moment. Isabella, come to dinner. I will answer some of your questions. Not all of them. Some. After that you may decide what you wish to do. And if I say no, then you say no. And nothing more is asked of you. 8 o'clock, she said. A car will come at 7:30. Okay, Isabella, yes, you will not regret it. I might. Yes, he said, you might. He hung up. The dress she wore was black. It was Gaunt's the only nice dress she owned. She had bought it 3 years ago for a job interview she had not gotten. She had worn it twice since. Once to her grandmother's funeral. Once to her mother's chemo intake meeting. It was a wrap dress. Simple. She put her hair up. Took it down. Put it up again. She put on lipstick. Wiped it off. Put it back on. She put the new cornetto under her collar where the chain would not show. The buzzer rang at 7:30 exactly. She looked out the window. The Escalade was at the curb. She walked down the 4 flights. She had practiced not running. She walked. The same driver from the night before opened the door. He did not say anything. The back of the Escalade was empty. A small bouquet of dark red roses lay on the leather seat. 6 of them. Tied with brown ribbon. The kind of bouquet a man brought who knew the difference between a bouquet and a gesture. She got in. She set the roses across her lap. Signor Conti is meeting you at the restaurant, miss. Okay, the Escalade pulled away. The drive took 20 minutes north, away from downtown. Into a part of the city Isabella had only seen in magazines. Old money Chicago. Wrought iron gates. Stone houses set back from the road. The Escalade turned into a narrow drive between 2 stone walls. It stopped in front of a low building. Discreet. No sign. Only a small brass plaque on the door. Il nascosto, the hidden one. A man in a black suit opened her door. He greeted her by name, Miss Marchetti. Right this way. Inside the world was old world. Crystal, white cloth, wine bottles on the walls. The dining room held maybe 10 tables. Only one was set. Lorenzo stood when she walked in. He had on a charcoal suit, white shirt, no tie. The collar was open. He looked at her the way he had looked at her the night before. But softer now, like the night before. He had been a man in a room, and tonight, he was a man waiting for her. Isabella, Lorenzo. She walked to the table. He held her chair. He pushed it in. Wine appeared. Red. A bottle without a label. From a small vineyard outside Naples, he said. My family has known the family that owns it for 4 generations. That is a long time. It is. She sipped the wine. The wine was the kind of wine that made you understand why men had once written poems. The first course came. Then the second. Then the third. The kitchen seemed to know what they were doing without being asked. Lorenzo asked her about her life. Real questions. Not the questions men asked when they wanted you to laugh. Questions about her grandmother. Questions about Cleveland. Questions about what she had studied. Questions about why she had wanted to be a translator. She answered him. She did not mean to answer him so honestly, but the wine. And his eyes. And the way the room was quiet except for them. Something about it. She told him about her mother. About the cancer. About the $18,000 by Friday. About the 18 rejection letters. He did not interrupt. He did not offer pity. He listened. When she finished, he was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Tell me what Isabella Marchetti wants." She laughed. It came out small. "I want to not be invisible. Go on. I want my mother to live. I want to not be afraid of the mailbox. I want to use the languages I learned. I want." She stopped. "I want to not be disposable." He nodded. "You are not those things, Isabella. How do you know?" "Because I have been watching." She set down her wine glass. "What does that mean?" "It means what it sounds like." "How long?" He took a breath. 3 weeks. She felt the floor tilt. 3 weeks, yes, before last night. Yes. Why? He set down his own wine glass. He placed his hands on the table. Long fingers, a single gold ring. No other. My godfather's brother eats at the Bellevista on Thursdays. He is an old man. He is from Sicily. 3 weeks ago he came home and he said to me, "There is a girl at the Bellevista who speaks it our language. She speaks it the old way. She speaks it like my mother used to." And then he said your name. Marchetti, and the name Marchetti is not a name I take lightly. Because of your father. Her chest tightened. She did not know what to do with her hands. She put them in her lap. "You knew my father. My father knew your father. Who is your father?" A pause. "His name is Vincenzo Conti." She watched his face. Vincenzo Conti. The letter in the olive wood odd box. The letter from 1 month before her father died. Odd. "The thing you fear is true." She felt the cornetto warm at her throat. She thought she might be sick. She thought she might also be more awake than she had ever been. "And what does your father do?" she asked. Very softly. He did not look away. "My family does many things. Some of them are legal. Some of them, by the standards of your country, are not. We have been doing those things for a long time. We do not use the word that Americans use for what we are. In our home, we call it family." The room went very still. She knew what he was telling her. She had known. From the moment the dining room had gone quiet at 9:47. "You are." "Yes. And my father was someone who, a long time ago, was very close to my father." "Was he?" She did not know how to ask the question. She asked it anyway. "Was my father one of you?" He took a long breath. "That is the conversation we will have tomorrow." "Tomorrow, yes. Tomorrow you will meet someone who has been waiting for you for 16 years. She stared at him. "Who?" "My father." She watched her hands tremble in her lap. Lorenzo waited. He did not press her. He let her sit with it. Slowly, he reached across the table. He did not take her hand. He simply placed his own near hers, open. The way a man offers something. Not the way a man takes, Isabella. "Yes. You may walk out of this room tonight. You may go home. You may throw the card away. You may pretend none of this happened. I will not stop you. I will not contact you again. The Bellevista will keep you on. Your mother's bills will be quietly arranged for. You will never see me again. Or, you come with me tomorrow, and you meet a man who has been carrying your father with him for 16 years. And you learn who you are, and who your father was. Her throat closed. Why? She whispered, would you offer me that? He looked at her for a long time, because my father has not slept overnight since 2010. Because there is something he owes a man named Antonio Marchetti. Because he believes that debt has a daughter. The wine in her glass trembled. She had not touched the glass. Her hand had. She made herself breathe. Take me home, she said. He nodded once. The smallest motion. He did not look disappointed. He did not look surprised. The Escalade pulled away from Il Nascosto. They did not speak for most of the drive. The city slid by. When they were 5 blocks from her apartment, she said, without looking at him, what time tomorrow? He did not answer immediately. A car will come at 10, okay, Isabella? Yes, you can change your mind, at any moment, even when the car pulls up, even when you are at the door of his house, even when you are standing in front of him, you can turn around. You can leave. No one will stop you. No one will follow you. You have my word, she nodded. They pulled up at her building. She got out. The window rolled down. Buonanotte, Isabella. Buonanotte. Lorenzo. The Escalade pulled away. She climbed the 4 flights. She unlocked her door. She locked it behind her. She stood in the kitchen for a long time. She picked up the olive wood box from her nightstand. She took out the letter. She read it again. The thing you fear is true. V.C. Vincenzo Conti. She held the letter against her chest. Her father had been writing to a man named Vincenzo Conti. Her father had been writing about something he feared. Her father had 1 month later, in a car accident, on a wet road. She set the letter down. She sat on the floor. She pulled her knees to her chest. She did not cry. She had cried enough in her life that her body knew the difference between when crying would help and when crying would simply waste energy she needed. She rocked, slightly. The way her grandmother had rocked when she was thinking. The cornetto was warm at her throat. At 10 the next morning, a car would come. She knew, with a certainty that frightened her, that she would be downstairs to meet it. Because some doors, once they open, cannot be closed. The car came at 10, not the Escalade, something older. A black sedan with chrome that had been polished by hand. The driver was not the same. This one was older, 60 maybe, white hair under a flat cap. He opened the back door. He did not say her name. He did not need to. Isabella got in. The cornetto was at her throat. The olive wood box was in her purse. The letter was folded twists, inside her coat pocket, against her chest, where she could feel it. She had not slept. She had not eaten. She had brushed her hair 3 times in the bathroom mirror. 3 times, because the first 2 times, her hand had been shaking too hard to make a clean part. The sedan moved north, past the Gold Coast, past the Lakeshore mansions. They turned into a long drive. Old elms on both sides, stone wall, iron gate. The gate opened before the car reached it. The house was at the end, not a mansion, a villa, 2 stories, creamstone, red roof tiles. The kind of house a man built when he wanted to remember a country he had left a long time ago. There were cars parked in the courtyard. The driver opened her door. She stepped out. A man was standing at the top of the steps. Lorenzo. He was not in a suit. He was in a soft sweater, the color of slate, dark jeans, brown leather shoes. He looked younger this morning. He looked tired. Isabella. Lorenzo. He is awake. He has been awake since 5. Why? He stopped sleeping. A long time ago. The same year as the letter. She climbed the steps. He did not offer his arm. He did not touch her. He simply matched her pace. He held the door. The house smelled like, on lemon polish. There was a black and white photograph on the wall of the entry. A man in a fedora. A woman in a long dress. The Bay of Naples behind them. A child between them. The child was a boy with a serious face. He could not have been more than 5. The boy in the photograph was the same boy whose dark eyes she had seen the night before. In a low-lit dining room, Lorenzo's eyes followed hers to the picture. My parents. And me. 19. Your mother. She died when I was 15. The same way your mother is sick. Cancer. He did not say the word. He did not need to. A door at the end of the hall opened. A woman came out. She was older, 75, pinned back a black cardigan over a black dress. Hands like maps. She stopped when she saw Isabella. She put one hand against the wall. She made a small sound, almost a hum. The sound an old woman makes when she has just remembered something she did not know she had forgotten. Caterina. Lorenzo's voice was gentle. Vieni a conoscere Isabella. Caterina did not move. She stared. She stared at the cornetto at Isabella's throat. She made the small sound again. She crossed herself, and then, in Italian, slow. The way old women speak when the words are too important to rush, she said. Bring her closer. Let me see. Isabella took 2 steps. Caterina reached out. She did not touch Isabella. She touched the gold horn at her throat. With one finger, the pad of one finger. The way you touch a wound. Yes, this horn was mine. Isabella did not breathe. Yes, I gave it. To a woman. In Naples. In 1975, my grandmother, Rosa. Yes. Rosa Marchetti. Yes. Caterina's eyes filled. She did not let the tears fall. She blinked them back. She was a woman who had been blinking back tears for a long time. I was her comber. Her godmother. I held her son at his baptism. Isabella's throat moved. She could not make words. Your father. Yes. Antonio. Yes. Caterina lifted her hand from the cornetto. She placed it against Isabella's cheek. Her palm was warm. It smelled like lavender. You have his mouth. Isabella closed her eyes. She had not known. She had never known. Her mother had given her the cornetto when she was 16. Her mother had said, "This belonged to your grandmother. Keep it close." Her mother had said nothing else. Her mother had said nothing else about anything. Because mother has 16 years saying nothing else. Caterina took Isabella's hand. She turned and walked, slow, steady, down the hall. Lorenzo followed 2 steps behind. She led Isabella to a room at the back of the house. The room was full of light floor-to-ceiling windows on the lakeside. A view that ran out to water. A leather worn at the arms. A man stood up from the chair, slowly, the way a tall tree moves in a slow wind. He was 70. He had white hair, cut close on the sides. He had a face like a coin that had been in circulation for a very long time. He wore a dark sweater, gray trousers, house slippers. He was not what Isabella had expected. She had expected a king. He looked like a grandfather. Then his eyes lifted. And he was not a grandfather. His eyes had been carrying something for so long that they had bent slightly under the weight. He looked at Isabella. He did not speak for a very long time. Caterina let go of Isabella's hand. She stepped back. She crossed herself again. The old man took 1 step, then another. He stopped 2 feet from her. He raised one hand, slowly. The way you raise a hand to a deer in a clearing. He did not touch her. He let his hand hover, an inch from her face. Then he said one word, Antonio. It was not a question. It was an apology. His knees did not buckle. His face did not break. But something inside him slid sideways, just slightly, like a foundation that had been bearing weight for too long. He let his hand fall. You came, he said. Yes, I did not know if you would. Neither did I. What is your name? Isabella. He nodded the way a man nods when he is hearing a name he already knew but needed to hear out loud. Isabella Marchetti. Yes, sit. He gestured to a couch. He sat in the leather chair. He moved with care. Like a man whose body was remembering. It was 70. Lorenzo stayed by the door. Caterina disappeared into the kitchen. The old man and Isabella sat across from each other. He looked at her the way a man looks at a photograph he has been carrying in his wallet for 16 years. You look like him. I don't remember what he looked like. You don't. I was 10. Of course. He glanced at Lorenzo. He spoke in Italian. Get the box. Lorenzo left the room. The old man returned his eyes to Isabella. Forgive me, he said in English. I am not. I am not as composed as I had wanted to be. It's okay. It is not okay. But thank you. She did not know what to say. She said nothing. He spoke again. In 1985, your grandfather did me a favor. A small favor, by standards of the things men do for one another. But the favor cost him, and he did it anyway. He did not ask for anything in return. Do you understand? No, you will. He folded his hands in his lap. Your father grew up in my house, some weekends, some summers. He and I were like uncle and nephew. He was a good boy. He drew, he drew very well. He wanted to be a painter. He never told me. He stopped drawing in his 20s. He took up other work. What work? The old man's mouth moved. It was not a smile. It was the cousin of a smile. He worked for me. Isabella sat very still. In what capacity? He was my right hand. There it was. The thing she had felt in the air at the Bellevista the night before. The thing that had been waiting in the wood box on her nightstand for 16 years. My father was. Yes. He was in the. Yes. She did not know what to do with her hands. She put them on her knees. They lay there like they did not belong to her. The old man saw it. You did not know. No. He did not want you to. No. He was a good father. She did not answer. He was. I know it. He was a good father even when he was. The other thing. He kept the two parts of his life separate. That was important to him. Until, what? She looked up at him. He wrote a letter. In April of 2010, he wrote it to you. I found it yesterday. The old man's hands closed in his lap. Both of them, at the same time. His knuckles went white. He did not speak. He wrote about something he had seen, Isabella said. He said, the thing you fear is true. He said, wait until I come. He said, we will speak to the old man together. The old man. Don Vincenzo nodded slowly. He meant me, yes. He never came. No, because he died. Yes, he closed his eyes. For a long moment he did not move. Lorenzo returned with a wooden box. Mahogany. Brass corners. He set it on the small table at his father's elbow. The old man opened his eyes. Isabella. Listen to me. Listen carefully. Because I want to say this for 16 years. Okay, your father was murdered. The rube did not change. The light on the lake did not change. But Isabella's body changed. Some part deep inside her. Some part that had been suspended in the year 2010 finally fell. I knew, she said. You knew. Some part of me. I knew. Yes, who? We know who gave the order. We do not know who held the gun. Who? A family. A rival family. Their name. Romano. She filed the name. She did not let it loose in her chest. She filed it. Why? He looked at Lorenzo. Lorenzo nodded. Your father saw something he was not meant to see. What? That is the part we still need to know. I have ideas. I have suspicions. I do not have proof. He was bringing me the proof. He had it in his hand the day he died. It vanished with him. She thought of the olive wood box. She thought of the letter. She thought of the years her mother had carried that box around, without ever opening it. The old man was watching her face. You are thinking something, maybe. Tell me when you are sure. Okay. He looked at Lorenzo. He spoke softly. Open it. Lorenzo opened the mahogany box. Inside, on dark velvet, were three things. A photograph. A pocket watch. A ring. The photograph was of two young men, both in suits. Both standing on a balcony with the Bay of Naples behind them. Their arms were around each other. They were laughing. One of them was the old man, 50 years younger the other. Isabella reached for the photograph. She did not pick it up. She just hovered her fingers above the face of the younger man. My father. Yes. She did not cry. She watched her own hand. She watched it not shake. She was proud of her hand for not shaking. She looked at the pocket watch. That was your grandfather's. He gave it to your father when your father was 18. Your father gave it to me. For safekeeping. The week before he died. For safekeeping. He knew. Knew what? He knew he might not come back from what he had to do. He gave me what he could not afford to lose. He gave me his father's watch. And he gave me his ring. She looked at the ring. A gold band. Heavy. A small dark stone. This was his wedding ring. His father's wedding ring before him. His grandfather's before that. 3 generations of Marchetti men have worn this ring. He picked up the ring. He held it in his palm. He held out his palm. I have been waiting 16 years to give this back to you. Isabella did not move. She could not move. He waited. He did not press. She lifted her hand. She extended it. He turned his palm. The ring slid into hers. The metal was warm from his hand. She closed her finger around it. She did not put it on. Not yet. She put it against her chest. With her closed fist. The room was quiet. Katerina came back. Coffee, espresso, small white cups on a tray. She set the tray on the table. She did not speak. She left. The old man finally spoke. There is more. Tell me, your mother. What about my mother? She knew. She knew everything. About your father. About what he did. About what happened. She protected you. She took you to Cleveland. She made you ordinary, so you could live. She lied to me. She saved you. It is the same thing. It is not. He leaned forward. Isabella. Your mother spent 16 years lying to you so that one day, a man like Vittorio Romano would not be able to find you in a phone book. She gave up your name. She gave up her name. She gave up her city. She lived as a stranger in a strange town. Isabella's throat was tight. She told me it was a car accident. What else could she have told a 10-year-old? She could have told me later. She could have.
Yes.
She could have. He shook his head. But maybe she was waiting for you to be safe. And the world has not made you safe. Not yet. And now I am here. And now you are here. She looked at him for a long time. She picked the ring back up. She held it in her closed hand. Tell me, she said. Tell me what I need to do. His mouth moved. For the first time almost, a smile. Today you do nothing. Today you eat. Today you let Katerina feed you. Today you let her tell you stories about a boy who could draw. Today you are a daughter. And tomorrow. Tomorrow we begin. Begin what? He looked at her. Tomorrow we find what your father hid. And we use it. And we give him back his name. Isabella nodded. She did not say anything else. She did not need to. For the first 16 years, Isabella Marchetti had a thing to do. Not a job. Not a shift. Not a bill to pay. A reason. Katerina fed her that afternoon. Bread, salt, olive oil. A small bowl of pasta with tomatoes that tasted like a different country. Coffee so dark it might have been ink. Katerina told stories. She told the story of a boy named Antonio, who used to draw the harbor at Naples in chalk on the sidewalk. She told the story of a boy who used to bring stray cats home and hide them in the linen closet. She told the story of a boy who once cried because a bird flew into a window and would not eat dinner that night. Isabella listened. She did not interrupt. Katerina, at one point, reached over and pushed a piece of Isabella's hair behind her ear. She did not say anything when she did it. She just did it. It was the kind of gesture that lived in muscle memory. The kind of gesture an old Italian woman did to her own granddaughter without thinking. Isabella did not cry. But her chest, which had been a closed fist for 16 years, opened a finger. Just one. 2 days later, on a Tuesday night, Lorenzo took her to a small dinner. A restaurant River North. Not the Bellevista. A place Lorenzo owned with a private room in the back. Round red tablecloths. A waiter who did not write down orders. There were 2 other older men at the table. Lorenzo introduced them by first names only. They nodded at Isabella. They did not press for conversation. She was wearing a dress that had come from her new closet. Black, long sleeves. Simple. The cornetto was at her throat. The Marchetti ring was on a chain inside her dress. She had not put it on her hand. She did not feel ready. The waiter brought wine. The men talked in low voices. Lorenzo had his hand on the back of her chair. He did not put his hand on her. He let his hand rest on the chair. She understood the difference. The door to the private room opened. A man walked in. He was not invited. He was 50. Maybe a little more. Black hair. Sharp tailoring. Aftershave that arrived a full second before he did. He carried himself like a man who had been told all his life that he was important. The 2 older men at the table set down their forks. Lorenzo did not move. Lorenzo. The man's voice was warm in the way warm wine is warm. Not because it is welcoming. Because it covers something. I heard you were here, Vittorio. The name landed. Isabella did not look up. She did not move. But her body went cold. Romano. Vittorio Romano walked closer to the table. He looked at the 2 older men. He nodded to them. They did not return it. He looked at Lorenzo. He smiled. His eyes traveled to Isabella. They stopped on her. They stayed. You did not introduce me to your friend. Lorenzo did not answer. Vittorio extended his hand to Isabella. He waited. She did not move. Lorenzo, very slightly, shook his head once. Your name, she did not want to give it. She gave it. Isabella. Isabella what? A beat. Marchetti. His face did not change. His face did not change for one full second, and in that second she saw it. She saw the small flash of recognition behind his eyes. The same kind of door she had seen in Lorenzo's eyes 2 nights ago, except Lorenzo's door had opened on grief. Vittorio's door opened on hunger. He held the smile. What a lovely name. Thank you. An old name? Yes. A name I have not heard in a long time, I am sure. Are your people from Naples? She did not answer. Lorenzo answered for her. That is enough, Vittorio. Vittorio turned back to Lorenzo. His smile widened. Of course. Of course. Forgive me. I was merely making conversation. He inclined his head to her. Welcome to the family, Isabella Marchetti. He turned and walked out. The 2 older men looked at each other. Lorenzo did not move. His hand was still on the back of her chair. His knuckles, she noticed, had gone white. After Vittorio was gone, Lorenzo turned to her. From this moment, you do not leave this building without 2 of my men. Okay. You do not answer your phone unless you know the number. Okay. You do not go to Cleveland. She stopped. My mother, not yet, Zoe. Not yet. We will bring her here. We will move her. But you do not go to her. Not yet. She nodded. She did not argue. The next morning, the old man called at 6. Isabella. Yes, come to the house. Bring your mother on the phone. She was at the villa by 7:30. He picked up the phone himself. He dialed. He spoke to her mother. He did not introduce himself. He did not need to. Her mother knew his voice. Of course she did. Isabella listened to one side of the call. Her mother's voice came through faintly, crying. Steadily. The way a roof cries water after a long rain. The old man did most of the talking, Lucia. Yes, she is here, she is fine. She is more than fine. She is her father's daughter. Lucia, listen, we are coming for you. Tomorrow. The plane is already arranged. Pack only what you need, Lucia. Lucia, stop. You did the There is no shame. There is no anger. Come home. You hear me? Come home. He set the phone down. He looked at Isabella. His eyes were wet. Your mother is a brave woman. Yes, she protected you the only way she knew how. Yes, you should not be angry with her. I am not angry. I have a lot of years to talk to her about. You will have them. He looked at her. He did not lie. If we are careful. Yes, she nodded. 3 days later, her mother arrived. Isabella did not recognize her at first. Her mother was thinner than she had been at Christmas. Her hair was gone under a scarf. Her skin was the color of old paper. She walked with a cane, slowly, holding the arm of a nurse Lorenzo had hired in Cleveland and flown with her. But her eyes had something in them that Isabella had not seen since she was a child. Relief. The kind of relief that lives while there's only in the bodies of people who have been holding a thing for a very long time and are finally allowed to set it down. They met at the door of the villa. Her mother held out her arms. Isabella walked into them. They did not speak. Her mother cried into her hair. Catriona watched from the doorway, one hand pressed against her own throat. The old man waited at the back of the entry hall. He looked smaller than he had looked the first day. When Isabella's mother saw him, over Isabella's shoulder, she made a small sound. Vincenzo, Lucia. He walked to her, slow, careful. He took her hand, he kissed it. He did not say anything. He did not have to. 16 years lived in that kiss. He apologized for 16 years without saying a word. And her mother, who had been so afraid for so long, who had taught her daughter to fear strangers and to walk fast and to never speak Italian outside the house, finally let her shoulders drop. The cane stayed under her hand. But she let her shoulders drop. That night, Isabella sat on the edge of her mother's bed. She held her mother's hand. Her mother's hand was so small now. Mama. Yes, you should have told me. I know. You should have told me before. I know. Why didn't you? Her mother's eyes filled because I wanted you to have what your father wanted you to have. Which was a life. He did not want you to be in this. He used to say, Lucia, she will be ordinary. She will be free. She will marry a boy who fixes computers. She will live in a little house. She will have children who do not flinch when a car doors were slammed. She squeezed Isabella's hand. Weakly, that was his only dream, Yun. No, for you, that you would be ordinary. And he died for that dream. Yes, Mama, yes. I am going to finish what he started. Her mother closed her eyes. She did not argue. She nodded. I know, you know, I have known for a long time. How? Because you are his daughter. She opened her eyes. And you have been finishing his sentences since you were 2. Isabella laughed. A small laugh. The kind that breaks out before grief. Mama, what? There was a letter. In the wooden box. From the year he died. Yes. You knew. I never opened it. I knew. I knew there was something in there, but I could not. I could not look at his handwriting one more time. He was writing to Don Vincenzo. He said he had proof. Her mother was quiet for a long time. Her eyes wandered toward the ceiling. Yes. He had proof. Yes. Where is it? Her mother's eyes moved back to Isabella. She studied her daughter's face. He gave me one envelope. Before he left for the meeting he never came back from. He said, Lucia, if I do not come back, do not open this. Give it to someone you trust. If you do not have someone you trust, give it to our daughter. When she is old enough, Isabella stopped breathing. He gave you proof. And you have been carrying it. For 16 years. Yes, Mama, yes. Where is it? Her mother looked toward the corner of the room. The one suitcase. Bottom of the lining. I sewed it in. The week after we buried him. Isabella stood up. She walked the suitcase. She knelt down. Her hands were shaking now. She let them shake. She unzipped the lining. She slipped her fingers inside. Her fingers brushed paper. She pulled it out. A manila envelope, yellow with age. Across the front, in her father's handwriting, careful even, was one word, Vincenzo. She held the envelope against her chest. She turned to her mother. Her mother was already asleep. Her hand had fallen open on the blanket. The morphine had taken her. Isabella sat on the floor of her mother's room. She held the envelope. She did not open it. She knew its weight. She knew its meaning. She tucked the envelope inside her sweater. She walked, quietly, out of her mother's room. She walked down the hall. She walked to the back room. The old man was still up. He always was at this hour. He looked up from his chair when she came in. He saw her face. He saw the bulge inside her sweater. He stood. He did not speak. She walked to him. She handed him the envelope. He took it. He looked at the handwriting on the front. He held it. He did not open it. He just held it. With both hands. And, for the first time since Isabella had met him, the old man's face broke. He did not weep loudly. He simply let the tears come. He whispered. He kept his promise. He sat down. Slowly. In the leather chair. He held the envelope on his lap. He did not open it. Rest. There. Tomorrow, he said. Tomorrow. We open it tomorrow. All right, tonight we let him rest. She nodded. His voice stopped her at the door. Isabella. Yes. You did not have to come, I know. You came anyway. Yes, you are your father's daughter. She let herself all smile. A small one. Buona notte, Don Vincenzo. Buona notte. Figlia mia, my daughter. The envelope was on the dining room best table by 7 the next morning. The old man had not slept. Isabella could see it. Lorenzo had arrived at 6. Caterina had brought coffee and disappeared. The 4 of them stood around the table. Don Vincenzo finally sat. He used a small knife, a letter opener with a horn handle. He cut along the top. He slid the contents out. 3 things. A small black notebook, leather. Worn at the corners, a small digital recorder. The kind a journalist might carry, old. From around 2010, a photograph. The photograph went on the table face up. It was a picture of a warehouse. Inside, crates. A forklift. 3 men, standing near the crates. The photograph had been taken from a hidden angle. From up high, one of the men in the picture in the middle was Vittorio Romano younger, maybe 35, but unmistakable. Next to him was an older man, heavier, same jawline, same posture. His father Lorenzo said quietly, Don Salvatore Romano. He died in 2014 cancer, the old man said. He died of cancer. Good, Isabella said. She did not apologize for saying it. The old man did not ask her to. He opened the notebook. The first page was a date. April 3rd, 2010. Underneath the date, in Antonio's small, careful handwriting, were two words. Don Vincenzo, then a paragraph. The old man read it aloud, in Italian, in a voice that was steady at the start and not quite steady at the end. Padrino, I am writing this so that if I do not reach you in person, you will know. The Romano family has begun moving fentanyl through the Southside warehouses. Salvatore knows. Vittorio runs the day-to-day. They have been doing it for 9 months. I have photographs. I have shipping manifests. I have a recording. They have killed 2 of their own to keep it quiet. I am writing this from my kitchen at 4 in the morning. Lucia does not know. The little one does not know. If you are reading this, and I am not in the room with you, it is because they got to me first. Do not let them get to my family. Use what I am sending. Use it for them. Not for revenge. For peace, your son in everything but blood. Antonio, the old man set the notebook down. He put one hand over his eyes. Lorenzo did not move. Isabella did not move. After a long moment, the old man lifted his hand. His face was wet. His face was wet, but his jaw was set. Your father, he said, the best bet of us. Isabella nodded. She could not speak. He turned to Lorenzo. Play the recording. The recording played in the back room. 2 men. One of them was Salvatore Romano, the father. The dead one. The other was Vittorio. They were discussing fentanyl. By weight, by shipment, by city, they were discussing a man named Antonio. By name. Vittorio's voice said, he saw the Decatur warehouse. He is going to the old man. We do not have a choice. His father's voice said, then do it. But clean. Make it look like nothing. Make it look like the road took him. A second of silence. Then Vittorio said, done. The old man stopped the recording. He sat in his chair. He did not move for a long time. Lorenzo stood at the window, his back to the room. His shoulders did not move. Isabella held her hands together in her lap. She did not cry. This was a moment for filing. She filed the words. Make it look like the road took him. She filed the warehouse name. Decatur. She filed Vittorio's voice. Done. The old man finally stood. He walked over to her. He put his hand on her shoulder. His hand was heavier than it looked. Isabella, yes. You should not be in this room. I want to be in this room. I know. Then I want to be in this room. He nodded slowly. He looked at Lorenzo. He spoke in Italian. We bring it to the commission. Lorenzo turned from the window. When? Tonight. By tomorrow evening, everyone in this city will know what is on this recording. And Vittorio. Vittorio will know we know. He will move, he will. The old man's eyes were back on Isabella. And he will move on her first. There was an old word for what they did next. Sottotraccia. Underneath the track. You moved like a deer through a forest where you knew there were hunters. Lorenzo moved Isabella's mother that morning. 6 in the morning. 2 cars. 3 men. The nurse came along. They took her mother to a house in the suburbs that no one knew about, not even Caterina. A small ranch house with a basement that had been built to be a basement. Isabella was not allowed to know the address. She did not argue. She knew why. If she did not know where her mother was, then no one could make her tell. She kissed her mother goodbye in the hallway of the villa. Her mother held her face in both hands. Be careful, I will. Be smart, I will. Be your father's daughter, I will. Her mother smiled. The first real smile Isabella had seen from her in 3 years. The car pulled away. Isabella stood in the courtyard until the taillights disappeared. She did not feel small. She felt cold. She felt the kind of cold that lives in the bones of a person who has decided to do something difficult, and now must walk forward into it. That night, Lorenzo took her to the gym in the basement of the Aldair Tower. She had been quietly going there for the last 2 weeks. Lorenzo had been arranging it. He had not told her why. He told her now. The trainer's name was Renata. Late 40s. Greek, a retired federal agent who did private work now. Lorenzo had paid her a great deal of money to teach Isabella 3 things. How to hide a recording device. How to fall without breaking. How to read a room before walking into it, that was it. No guns. No knives. Renata explained, your weapon is what is in your hand right now. Nothing is in my hand. Your phone is in your hand. Your voice is in your throat. Your story is in your head. Those are the weapons. Renata pushed her into the mat 7 times in the first hour. On the 7th push, Isabella had laughed. Not because it was funny. Because something old had cracked. Tonight, Renata was holding a slim pen, a normal-looking pen. She showed Isabella how the cap came off, how the recorder activated, how you tested the audio, how you wore it on the inside of a jacket. She practiced with Isabella for 2 hours. Isabella did not eat dinner. She did not need to. The next morning, the call came. It came to her cell phone. A number she did not know. She was in the back room of the villa. Lorenzo was on a call himself, in the next room. The old man was reading the newspaper. She picked up, "Hello, Isabella." A voice she did not know. Smooth. Warm in the way warm wine is warm. She had heard it once, Senat. She did not say his name. She said, "Yes, I have your mother." The old man heard it from across the room. She did not know how, but he heard it. He set down the newspaper. He stood. He walked to her. He did not take the phone. He stood near her. He put his hand on her shoulder. She kept her voice flat. "You don't have her." "I do." "Show me." "I will. Soon. I would like to see you first." "Where?" "There is a warehouse in Pilsen. Off South Wood Street. The old printing place." "When?" 2 hours. "Alone." "Alone." A pause. "Isabella." "Yes, you bring anyone with you. You bring police. You bring Conti. Your mother stops breathing inside that hour. You understand me. I understand you." "Good." The line went dead. Isabella set the phone on the table. She looked at the old man. He spoke first. "He is lying. How do you know?" "Your mother is safe. I called the house 30 minutes ago. She is awake. The nurse just gave her her medication." "He does not have her." "Then why?" "He wants you in the warehouse before tonight's meeting. He wants to bury you before the commission hears the recording." She thought about it. She breathed. "Then I go," she said. Lorenzo, in the doorway, said, "No." She turned. She had not heard him come in. "No," he said again. "Lorenzo, no. Lorenzo, he thinks he has my mother. He will move on me one way or another. If I do not go, he will know we know. He will run. You are not going into a warehouse alone with that man. I am not going alone. He will frisk you. Yes, he will find a wire. He will not find this one." She walked across the room. She picked up the pen. She held it up. "He will see this. He will look at it. He will set it back down. And if he doesn't, then I am still going, Isabella. Lorenzo, listen to me." She set the pen down. She walked to him. She stood very close to him. Close enough that he could see the cornetto at her throat. Close enough that she could see the small scar on his jaw. "For 16 years, she said, my father has been a man who died on a wet road. For 16 years, my mother has been a widow. For 16 years, I have been a girl who did not know who she was. I know. Today that ends. It can end without you in that warehouse. It cannot. Why? Because he will not say what we need him to say to anyone but me." He looked at her for a long time. He nodded once. He turned to the old man. The old man had not moved. Don Vincenzo looked at Isabella. He spoke. "Let her go." Lorenzo did not look at him. "Father, let her go." "In our way." Lorenzo finally turned. "Our way. She walks in alone. She wears the pen. We have the building. Frack. Roof. 2 men inside the freight elevator. 4 on the roof. The block is ours by 6. She walks in at 8. If she is in trouble, we are inside in 12 seconds. That is too long. That is what we have." Isabella stepped forward. She put her hand on Lorenzo's arm. 12 seconds is enough. Is it? Yes. He turned his hand. He took her hand in his. He squeezed. He did not say anything. He did not have to. She squeezed back. The warehouse was exactly the kind of warehouse a man like Vittorio Romano chose. A long brick building. 3 stories. Broken windows on the top floor. A loading dock that had not been used in a decade. A sign that said Pilsen Print with the P and the S missing. Lorenzo's men had been in place since 5. They were not visible. That was the point. A man in a delivery uniform across the street. A woman in a parked sedan 1 block over. Two men on the roof of the building next door, their bodies flat against the parapet. Inside the warehouse, in the freight elevator shaft, two more of Lorenzo's men. A van 4 blocks away. A lawyer Lorenzo had spent the last 12 hours convincing. A lawyer with contacts in the federal prosecutor's office. A man who had, by tonight, made certain that any recording captured in that warehouse would be admissible in a court. Because the old man and Lorenzo had decided this had to end one way, not their way, hers, in a court. With a transcript. With a record, for Antonio, for her, for the next girl who would not have to walk into a warehouse alone someday. At 8 o'clock, the black sedan pulled up to the loading dock. Isabella got out. She was wearing a dark coat. The slim pen was inside the lapel. The cornetto was at her throat. Her father's ring was on a chain inside her shirt. She walked alone toward the loading dock. A man came out of the dark. Tall. Heavy. He patted her down. Quickly. Roughly. He took her phone. He found the pen in her lapel. He pulled it out. He held it up. She held her breath. He looked at it. He uncapped it. He clicked it. He scribbled on his own palm. Ink came out. He shrugged. He put the pen back in her lapel. He gestured her forward. 12 seconds. That was all Lorenzo had said. 12 seconds. She walked into the warehouse. The inside was lit by a single work lamp. It hung from a beam over a metal table. Beyond the table, in the dark, men, maybe 4, maybe 5. Standing at the table, sitting, was Vittorio. In front of the table, on her knees, was a woman, not her mother. A different woman. Older, gray hair. A bag over her head. Vittorio gestured. Your mother. The bag was breathing. Isabella stared. For a half second she had only seen such a woman on the floor. She had only seen a bag. She had only thought Mama, Mama. She made herself breathe. She looked closer. The shoes were wrong. Her mother had been wearing slippers. This woman was wearing brown loafers. The hands were wrong. Her mother had a wedding ring. This woman did not. Not her mother, some other woman. Some woman Vittorio had grabbed off a street. Isabella did not let her face change. Take the bag off. Vittorio smiled. Soon. First. Sit. She walked forward. She sat across from him at the metal table. She placed her hands flat on the table. She looked at Vittorio. You're a busy man, Mr. Romano. Vittorio, you're a busy man, Vittorio. Let's not waste each other's time. His smile twitched. He recovered your father. Yes. You know what he did. I know he was murdered. He brought it on himself. Did he? He stuck his nose. Where? In business that did not concern him. Was it fentanyl? His face changed, not dramatically. But it changed. She had named the thing. She had brought it onto the table. You should not say that word out loud, Vittorio said softly. Why not? It is rude. It is what killed my father. It is what kept my family eating. You are eating well. I am. At a cost. There is always a cost. The cost was a man with a daughter. Yes, he said it. Just like that, yes. 12 seconds was a long time. She did not think about the 12 seconds. Was it you? Was what me? On the road, in Cleveland. Yes, he smiled. It was the smile of a man who had wanted to tell this story for 16 years and had never had the right audience. She was the right audience. My father gave the order. I drove the second car. You hit him. The first car hit him. I made sure he did not get back up. The room did not change. She knew, in some part of her, that two men in the freight elevator shaft had just heard those words. She knew that a lawyer in a van 4 blocks away had just heard those words. She knew that her father had just received what he had spent the last hour of his life trying to deliver. She did not let any of that show on her face. She nodded. You were how old? 32, and you slept that? Yes. And you have slept every night since, yes. And tonight? Tonight I will sleep too. No, she said quietly. You won't. Behind her, in the dark. One of his men shifted his weight. The shift was small. But she heard it. She had 10 seconds. Maybe 8. She made herself sit very still. She made her voice very steady. There is one thing you should know, Vittorio. Before you do whatever you are about to do. What is that? My father did not work alone. His smile flickered. He had no partner. He did. Who? You know him. She watched his face. She watched him remember. She watched him remember, 16 years ago, who had been in the room with Antonio Marchetti on the night Antonio had photographed the Decatur warehouse. Who had stood lookout. Who had then been paid by the Romano family to disappear. Who had changed his name. Who, for 16 years, had been running the floor at a 5-star restaurant on the north side. Vittorio's face went still. Tommaso. Isabella did not move. She did not nod. She did not have to. There was a sound at the back of the warehouse. A different kind of sound. A footstep. Not Lorenzo's men. The men hidden in the freight elevator made no sound. This was a man walking out from behind a crate. Tommaso. 55. Thin. Gray at the temples. A face that had spent 16 years pretending. Tonight the face was no longer pretending. He held a small revolver. His hand was shaking, but the revolver was up. It was pointed at Vittorio. The men in the dark behind Vittorio reached for their jackets. Tommaso said, in a voice that was hoarse but loud. If any of you moves, I shoot him first. I have 10 rounds. I will use them. No one moved. Vittorio's smile died. He stared at Tommaso. What is this, old friend? This, Tommaso said, is the last 16 years. Tommaso, you let my brother bleed out on a road in Ohio. Tommaso, you let me pretend to be a man I was not. Tommaso, you let me serve risotto to old women, while my friend's daughter walked past me and did not know who I was. He looked at Isabella. His eyes were wet. Antonio was my brother. I believe you, Isabella said. I did not pull the trigger, but I told them where he would be. I know. I have lived with it. I know. Tonight I stop living with it. He turned his head back to Vittorio. I am not going to kill you. Vittorio almost laughed. You are not, no. Because that would be easy. And the men outside this warehouse, the ones who have been listening to every word, would let you bleed and walk away. And that is not the punishment for this. Vittorio went still. What men outside? Tommaso smiled. It was the first real smile Isabella had ever seen on his face. You did not check the pen, Vittorio. Vittorio's eyes went to Isabella's lapel. Above them, on the roof, Lorenzo's men were already moving. Behind them in the freight elevator, the door was already sliding open. From the front, the loading dock door rolled up. In 10 seconds, the warehouse filled with men. Vittorio's men reached for their guns. Did not get there. 2 of them on the ground, hands behind their heads. 1 on his face. Vittorio still in his chair, his hand halfway inside his jacket, frozen. Because a red dot was on his chest, and he was old enough to know what a red dot meant. Tommaso lowered his revolver. He set it on the metal table. He stepped back. He raised his hands. He waited. A man in a black jacket walked up to Vittorio. He was not one of Lorenzo's men. He was federal. He read Vittorio his rights. He used the word trafficking. He used the word murder. He used the words racketeering and conspiracy. Vittorio did not speak. His face had become something Isabella would not forget. Something's a man's face becomes when he understands, at the same instant, that he has lost everything he has ever held, and that he is going to live a very long time with that understanding. The woman on the floor was untied. The bag was lifted. She was a stranger. A hostage they had taken off a street in Pilsen 2 hours ago. She was crying. She was alive. She was let out. Tommaso was let out too. In handcuffs, of his own request. He looked at Isabella once on the way out. He did not speak. He nodded. She nodded back. It was not forgiveness. It was not yet. But it was a beginning. It was 3 in the morning when she made it back to the villa. Lorenzo had driven her himself, in the same Escalade, where, on a different night in a different life, she had been a waitress with cold hands and a broken heater. He had not spoken much during the drive. He had held her hand on the seat between them. His hand had been cold, so had hers. They walked into the villa together. The old man was up. Of course he was. He was in the back room, in the leather chair. The notebook was open on his lap. When he saw Isabella, he stood slowly. He opened his arms. She walked into them. He held her. He held her like a father. He said, into her hair, in Italian, "You have brought him home." She nodded against his shoulder. She did not speak. She did not need to. The morning was gold. The light off the lake was the color of new bread. Isabella stood on the back terrace of the villa. She was wearing one of her own sweaters. Not one from the closet. One she had brought from her old apartment. The thrift store cardigan with the hole at the cuff. Her hair was in a braid where the cornetto was at her throat. On her hand, finally, was her father's ring. The old man came out behind her. He had on his sweater, his slippers, his coffee in his hand. He came to stand beside her. He did not speak for a long time. The lake moved. A bird called. He spoke first. Tommaso has agreed to testify. Yes. He will go to prison. Yes. For a long time. I know. He wanted to. I know. He paused. Your mother. She slept 10 hours. Good. The doctor says the new chemotherapy is working. Good. He paused again. And Lorenzo. She did not answer right away. She watched the water. She thought about Lorenzo, who had been here at 7. Who had brought her coffee. Who had held her hand. Who had not asked her for anything. She thought about Lorenzo, who had told her last night, in the car, that he was selling 3 of his businesses by the end of the year. That the family was moving into legitimate work. That the meeting with the commission tomorrow would be the last meeting of its kind he intended to attend. She thought about Lorenzo, who had said, "My father has been waiting 40 years for a reason to stop. You are his reason, and mine." She thought about Lorenzo, who had then, on her doorstep, kissed her once on the forehead and gone home to sleep. She turned to the old man. "Lorenzo and I will figure that out." The old man smiled, a small smile. "Good." He took her hand, the hand with the ring. He looked at the ring. He held her hand against his cheek. He spoke very, very softly. "Figlia mia, my daughter." She closed her eyes. She let herself stand there. She let herself be a daughter. 1 year later, almost to the day, on a Tuesday night in October, Isabella stood on the back terrace of the villa. The lake was steel gray, cold off of the water. The kind of cold a city like Chicago does not pretend about. A year had moved fast. A year had moved slow. A year had been the longest year of her life, and the shortest one all at once. She had finished the translator's certification. 3 languages. She worked from a small office in a building Lorenzo owned. 3 days a week, 2 days a week she went to the villa, to the old man. She sat with him. She read to him sometimes. Mostly she just sat. He liked the company. Caterina had taught her how to make the Sunday gravy. The slow way, the Naples way. The way that took 6 hours and ruined any other gravy a woman would eat for the rest of her life. Her mother had moved into a small house in Evanston. The cancer was, for the first time in 3 years, retreating. The doctor had used the word remission. Isabella did not say the word out loud. Not yet. Italian women did not say good news out loud. You waited. Lorenzo had sold the import company. He had kept the restaurants. He had kept the building. He had bought a vineyard outside Naples. The same one whose wine he had served her, a year ago, on a different terrace, in a different life. A week ago, he had given her a small box. Inside was a ring. Not her father's ring. That was on her right hand. A different ring. Older. A small dark stone. His mother's ring. She had not put it on. Not yet. She had held it in her hand. She had looked at him. She had said, "Spring." He had nodded. He had said, "Spring." That was enough. Tonight, on the terrace, she took out the olive wood box. She had not let it out of her sight in a year. She opened it. Inside, now, were 3 things. The photograph of her father and Don Vincenzo on a balcony in Naples, a small silver cornetto. Her grandmother's. The one that had been buried with her grandmother. Returned to her by the old man, who had asked a cemetery in Naples to do something only old men could ask cemeteries to do. And a letter, a new one, written, in her own hand, in Italian, in the language that had stopped feeling borrowed and started feeling owed. She unfolded it. She read it to the lake. She read it quietly. "Papa. The thing you feared was true. The proof you carried, we found it. The man who took you, the courts took him. The man who helped him, the courts took too. The old man got to say goodbye. Mama's getting better. I am happy. I think you would like. Lorenzo, I am wearing your ring. I love you. I love you. I love you, Isabella." She folded the letter. She put it back in the box. She closed the box. She held the box against her chest. She closed her eyes. The wind off the lake moved her hair. Behind her, through the glass door, Katerina was humming. The same song she always hummed. An old Neapolitan song about a fisherman and the moon. In the chair, Don Vincenzo Conti, the man who had been carrying her father with him for 16 years, breathed quietly, asleep. Finally, the terrace door opened behind her. Lorenzo's hand came around her waist. Warm, steady, familiar now. He did not speak. He stood with her. After a long moment, he leaned in. He whispered into her hair, "Benvenuta a casa, Isabella. Welcome home." She closed her eyes. She let the box stay against her chest. She let his arms stay around her waist. She whispered back, in the language of her father, in the language of her grandmother, in the language of the country that had finally come home with her. "Sono a casa, Lorenzo. I am home." The lake moved. The wind moved. And on a terrace in Chicago, on a Tuesday night in October, the daughter of Antonio Marchetti stood in the cold. And was no longer afraid of any of it. She had finished what he started. She had gotten his name back. She had become the woman he had hoped, in his last hour on a wet road, that she might someday become. Ordinary, free, and entirely, unmistakably, her father's daughter, a waitress no more, a girl no more, a woman, standing in a country that had finally remembered her name, Marchetti. The end.